Dobar dan svima i dobrodošli na PRES konferenciju pod nazivom Priča Dinare Smailove od borkinje za ljudska prava do izbjeglice.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to a press conference titled The Story of Dinare Smailova, from human rights activist to refugee. My name is Vucic Filipis. I will be the moderator of today's conference. This conference has been organized in light of case of Mir Dinara Smailova, a citizen of Kazakhstan who has been undergoing the procedure of attaining asylum in Montenegro under the law on international and temporary protection since October 2023. Why this case is so specific is that he attracted the attention not only of the media, but also of both domestic and international organizations. Our speakers today are Ms. Dinara Smailova, human rights activist, Mr. Almat Mukhameyanov, human rights activist, Mr. Petar Vukčević, the legal representative in asylum procedure and legal advisor of the Civic Alliance on the project Free Legal Aid for forcibly displaced person and person at risk of stateless under the foundation of the UNHCR, Mr. Libor Itomovic, attorney on the extradition request in case of the Republic of Kazakhstan, Ms. Anara Husainova, attorney legal proceedings in the Republic of Kazakhstan. I thank you on behalf of myself and the Civic Alliance for accepting the invitation to be the speakers at today's conference. Ms. Smailova, since this conference has been called due to your work in the field of human rights, we are kindly ask you to briefly present the challenges that you have been faced during your activism and share the truth about the events in your home country, Kazakhstan, which forced you to leave your home and seek asylum in Montenegro. The floor is yours.
Здравствуйте, уважаемые дамы и господа. Меня зовут
Hello,
Динара
dear
Смаилова.
ladies and gentlemen.
В Казахстане меня больше знают как
My name is Dinara Smailova. In Kazakhstan, I'm known as Dina Tansari.
Я более 20 лет
I am human rights activist,
работе.
writer, and artist from Kazakhstan.
Я заявила на своих соцстраницах, что женщины не должны молчать о насилии.
In 2016, I publicly stated on my social media webpage that women must not remain silent about the violence because silence and impunity give rise to the new crimes.
Выжившей после насилия и ее семье. Мое публичное заявление спровоцировало
I am
волну
very aware how this violence impact on the lives of the victim and her family. My public statement triggered a wave of message and confession from women all over Kazakhstan. My husband, Almat, we decided to create a foundation to protect the right of women and children who have experienced the violence. The Molchi Don't Be Silent movement spontaneously and rapidly emerged in the country. So we opened the SOS line in 10th April 2017 as the public foundation, public movement against violence. Don't Be Silent was officially registered in the Ministry of Justice with me as founder and Almat. The goal and objective of the foundation are protection of women and children from violence, educational outreach, and human rights work. All work is carried about on a voluntary basis. We've been helping survivors, free legal aid, psychological assistance, helping to solve social problems. The foundation work is supported by the voluntary donation from citizens. The board decided to accept donations more formally, and we opened a bank account in which the foundations can be paid, and we have done track records and we reported transparently. Donations are used to pay lawyer and psychologist fees, volunteer team. So We followed our victims toward the court and during the court procedures in order to protect their rights, to ensure that their rights are protected. We are sometimes forced to go public with the most difficult cases because police, prosecutors, and judges violate victims' rights in misleadings. Thanks to the public exposure, we have achieved a criminal prosecution of the 315 perpetrators to be accused. From the beginning, our work was not welcomed by Kazakhstani state and law enforcement agency. Since 2017, I have been unlawfully prosecuted in criminal cases. In total, 18 criminal cases has been initiated, out of which 2 of them were dropped due to lack of evidence, or well initiated by the police based on the internal reports without real victims. In 2021, my husband and I left Kazakhstan and went for Georgia, invited by the human rights organization to participate in a 3-month rehabilitation program for burnt-out activists. So it's a 3-month program for human rights activists. During the rehabilitation process, recovery process, we prepared, we founded the new international foundation, but on September 24th, we urgently flew to Turkey to help a survivor who fled her abusive husband from Kazakhstan, and she needed help. 3 days after, when we wanted to return to Tbilisi, to Georgia, we were denied entry into Georgia without explanation. We suspected Kazakhstani authorities requested Georgian authorities to blacklist us, fearing our work was gaining international reach. I was under medical supervision of Georgia, and I was supposed to have a second surgery for October 2023, but even medical documentation didn't help. We were forcibly deported to Turkey. We were left completely demoralized, without belongings, equipment, or our normal lives. We had to choose a new country, and we selected Montenegro for several reasons. Medical advice was to live by the sea. It was a recommendation by a doctor. Montenegro is a NATO membership, is a candidate for the EU membership, and we believe that we would be safe here. 8th October 2023, we entered Montenegro, and on 12th October, we filed a request for international protection by the Budva police. At that time, I'm not facing 2 criminal cases in Kazakhstan under the politically motivated articles based on law, based on Article 147, based on the criminal law of Kazakhstan. On 16 October, the lawyer representing the convicted daughter of a high-ranking official from Ust-Kamenogorsk, a regional center in Kazakhstan, that filed a complaint against me, alleging I had embezzled 1,700,000 tenge, and that I used for my purposes. However, neither lawyer nor the victim made any claims, and this was confirmed multiple times during the investigation. Despite this, the investigator illegally demanded bank details from the attorneys from Almat, from my husband, to whose account the donation was sent in accordance with the decision.
значительно больше, чем было
it
предъявлено
was
После этого
so
он должен был закрыть дело.
investigator that it was paid on my husband
Так как факт
fees
доноса не подтвердился.
2,212,000 tenges, and therefore he had to close the case due to the lack of the evidence.
Личные, персональные данные всех донаторов,
Despite
которые
this,
когда-то донатили в фонд «Не молчи». А это 7000
investigator illegally again demanded that Kasmi Bank hand over personal banking data of all
Каспий банк, нарушая закон,
$7,200,
все персональные
and
данные
this way Kaspi Bank violated banking
Далее,
confidentiality and provided all of this data.
наших донаторов.
So all data related to $7,200. Following an order from the Ministry of Internal Affairs, all donors were interrogated and pressured to file police complaints against me. Officers often visited donors late at night. Interrogation took place late at night. As a result of this huge operation during November and December,
Они под давлением полиции написали заявление на меня.
7 people out a lot of interrogated people under the pressure filed complaints, and the claimant total age was 44 euros. And then they started to write on the social media that they were forced to denounce me, and simultaneously, jointly with this special campaign, a PR campaign was launched to discredit our work of our foundation. Pro-government and pro-Russian bloggers spread slanders and hate, misleading the public. Misleading the public of Kazakhstan and citizens of Kazakhstan. Despite this, in 2024, we provided free consultation for over 15,000 women and achieved to have conviction for 42 perpetrators. Kazakhstani people continue to donate, although this, due to the fear, authorities have illegally blocked our cards and accounts. I want to emphasize that we always work honestly and transparently, and not a single person has ever claimed that do not be silent foundation deceived them or misused funds. 2 petitions were created in Kazakhstan along with protests as support to our fund. We were supported from the EU Special Rapporteurs, European Parliament, Human Rights Watch, Frontline Defenders, Urgent Action Fund for Feminist Activists, and other international organizations. We are very grateful that we received support in Montenegro from the human rights organizations and journalists for our human rights, and we also thank UNHCR, Civic Alliance, and Anti-War Fund of Russia for their legal assistance. I will use this opportunity to speak on international platform, and I want to make an official statement. I, Dinare Smailove, accused the law enforcement system of Kazakhstan for a number of criminal offenses committed against me by the Ministry of Internal Affairs, the General Prosecutor Office, and the Investigative Court of East Kazakhstan Region. As Kazakhstan activist for human rights, I accuse these agencies for falsifying 6 criminal cases against me. I have not committed fraud, nor I have deceived the people of Kazakhstan. I conduct my work very professionally, boldly, transparently, and effectively. I did not publish false information. We have proof of each case. I didn't publish the personal data for child. the police provided this information about the child who went who has faced the violence. During 7 years of work, 10 police, 200 police were disciplinary proceedings, while 12 police were criminally convicted because of the fund Don't Be Silent Foundation refused to be silent about their criminal activism. I, Dinare Smailove, accused Kazakhstani law enforcement of spreading false information about me, issuing false press release about me, and about Foundation Don't Be Silent. I, Dinare Smailove, accused Kaspi Bank for breaching banking confidentiality data and disclosing the personal data of 7,200 donors, people who had no relation to my criminal investigation. The Kazakhstani government and President Tokayev portray Kazakhstani as a country that protects women's rights, enacts new laws and punishes perpetrators severely, but is just a facade. The femicide is rampant, the laws are declarative, the government conceals the true statistics on violence against women and children. Only Foundation Don't Be Silent received 23 murder cases involving women and 12 involving children. Each year, according to UN Women, 400 women are killed, died annually in Kazakhstan. Every day, 3 children are raped. Only 30% of cases reach court. This is official statistic. Corruption, nepotism, violence, torture, raiding flourish in Kazakhstan. Human rights defenders, activists, and journalists who openly criticize the government are arrested on the daily basis. New laws are constantly passed that violate human rights, freedom of speech, and constitutional right of the citizens. Each day there are brought laws who violate. We are human rights defenders, and we ask and request international community to help us, and we ask for international protections. Thank you very much. Now I would invite her husband to give his perspective. Dear ladies and gentlemen, estimated participants of the conference, I am Almat Muhamedjanov, co-founder of the Foundation Don't Be Silent and the chairman of the Foundation's Board of Trustees. And first and foremost, I am a legal spouse of Dinare Smailove. I know that this video will be investigated by the Kazakhstan authorities. Will read all our statements. Every day I witness the emotional and moral efforts Dina, as a woman, puts into the work of our foundation to give a better understanding. I will explain. This is a job without the weekend, without the holidays. That means that the victims of violence can call us 24/7. There was a days when when we worked during the nights and during the weekends, holidays. There were days also when Dina was taken away by the ambulance in the emergency. after another call from the SOS line, but that didn't stop her. She always returned to her work. The public foundation Don't Be Silent is an organization that protects the rights of the women and children who have suffered from violence. All work is done on the voluntary basis without salaries or funding. And for all 9 years of the existence of foundation, we have victims of violence by providing free legal, psychological support and try to help them resolving medical and social issues. The official state system we had to work with is extremely corrupt, unprofessional, and protects its own through strong professional and family ties. State authorities are interrogating us, are hunting us. And as we can see, not only state is after us, but also rapists, murders, and abusers with money and power who target Dina. Right now, for instance, Dina is being pursued by the Kazakhstani oligarchs in a house, in whose house a 6-year-old girl was murdered. The oligarch family was charged and the proceeding in the Kazakhstan court for deliberate murder of a minor, but the court acquitted them all, causing public outrage. Dina is being targeted because the foundation live streamed the court session and informed about the public of all procedural violation during the trial. The man whose guilt was to blame blames Dina for everything, and the government supports him. No one in Kazakhstan tries to hide the fact that this man has close ties with high-ranking officials from state authorities, and this is just one criminal case. We have several hundred of these, and 315 perpetrators already are behind the bars in the prison. Each of them had money, connections, and relatives who threatened Art Foundation and especially Dina. Kazakhstan's law enforcement system, Kazakhstan authority, turned criminal prosecution into business. Women suffer the most, so they usually have no connections, are financially dependent of their husbands. And in our country, unfortunately, you can buy any court decision even and publish price for court decisions. You can buy any forensic result, investigations, loose evidence. Victims do not have the right to a free lawyer or psychologist. In fact, under the Kazakhstani law, victim doesn't even have the right to a lawyer, only to a representative. And it doesn't matter if this is a lawyer, human rights defender, or a family member. The Kazakhstan justice doesn't matter. In the court, they are subjected to humiliating and degrading interrogation by the defense attorney of the accused. Women always will ashamed to speak about the violence. They usually to suffer in order and to endure abuse for the sake of preserving the family, but suddenly then a woman comes who tells the whole country, don't be silent, there is nothing ashamed of, you are not guilty, you don't need to endure. And who would appeal to that, especially since abuse is widespread among the family of the police officers, mayors, member of parliament, businessmen, big government officials, and the most vulnerable are often women in these very families. Unfortunately, unintentionally, our organization led by Dina has become very inconvenient for those who are used of committing violence with impunity. Since 2017, a criminal cases has been initiated against Dina based on reports by police officers and prosecutors. This means that any officer or prosecutor can submit a report claiming that the post by a foundation is false. Last year, just to say, 24 journalists were alleged and were charged and imprisoned. In case of Dina, there is no investigation, but the authorities already state that the criminal activity has been committed, breaching the right of the presumption of the innocence and breaching multiple constitution articles. The charge of fraud carries a penalty up to 10 years in prisons and ban on engaging in public activities. This is the main goal of the Kazakhstani authorities to prevent the foundation don't be silent, to ban them and to enable us to provide support. Law of the foundation operates under the following laws of the Kazakhstani, the Civil Code of the Kazakhstani Law on the Republic on non-profit organization of Kazakhstan. The foundation is one of the most common legal forms of non-profit organization. So the law allows NGOs to receive funding from any sources that is not prohibited by law and via electronic means. So NGOs can deal with this activity in practice. The funds may be classified by the tax authorities as charitable donations or other types of gratuitous income. I want to say that Article 516 of the Civil Code of the Republic of Kazakhstan, the donation is defined. Donation is recognized as a gifting of property or right for the benefit of the public interest. You do not have a right of trade among those who receive and those who give donation. So they interrogated 7,200 people who donated funds to Dinara or foundation, attempting to find the victims. Then they eventually managed to find 7 people who will claim that we defrauded the funds in the amount of €44. We never were engaged in politics. We have not formed a political parties of movement, nor have we collaborated with them. We never ran for office. We do not participate in political elections or protests. We never opposed the constitutional order of the country. We simply defended the right of women and children who have suffered violence using the legal tools of our countries and our laws. We offered constructive criticism to executive authorities in case of failure to enforce or comply with laws. We demand that laws to be changed, to have legal reforms when laws are unjust, irrational, or outdated. We have never received funding from the Kazakhstani government, neither from the foreign governments of the international organizations or activities of the fund. We are not attractive also to the advertisers who would advertise, for instance, the topic to be in the context of the femicide. We solely exist on the donation of compassionate people. There is a small portion also comes from the sale of books and paintings by the leader of our movements, a human rights defender, writer, and our artist Dina Tansari. All the donation were used for legal assistance, attorneys, psychological, medical, and other aid that has been provided to the victims. According to the law of Kazakhstan on the NGOs, the foundation needs to make the reports public, the reports related to the use of the money of the donation. But however, the term official print media is not defined by law. In practice, foundations publish report in any mass media outlet. The foundation uses online platform to publish. Dear participants of the conference, Dinare Smailove is the first woman in Kazakhstan to publicly declare the existence of the femicides in the cadre. She and the foundation do not be silenced, are the only protector of many Kazakhstani women who have suffered the raping, violence, impunity, and abusing. Dinara faces illegal arrest and torture, and if she is returned to Kazakhstan, this is what I would like to say today, and we ask for protection. Thank you very much. We move on. Dear Miss, as legal representative, can you inform us about the the procedure and particular vulnerable groups? As this conference focuses on one of the most vulnerable social group in the modern world, asylum seekers, I would like to begin with a speech by answering your question. Asylum seekers are people who, fleeing war, persecution, and violence, have been forced to leave their homes, families, and lives behind. They have entered experiences that leave deep physical and psychological scars, experience that fortunately for us, we cannot even imagine. As I stated, first of all, to explain who are asylum seekers. Asylum seekers are people who, fleeing war, persecution, and violence, have been forced to leave their homes, families, and lives behind. They have endured experience that leave deep physical and psychological scars, experience that fortunately for us we cannot even imagine. Their problems do not end at the border. They merely take a different form. Struggle for mere survival, freedom, and health is replaced with uncertainty, poverty, lack of basic rights, and often discrimination. We are here today to tell the story of Miss Mr. Dinara and her husband, Mr. Almond. We got in touch with them in October 2023, and since then we are working together, representing them in the procedure for granting international protection before the Asylum Directorate. My colleague and I have undertaken a series of necessary actions and provided legal aid and support through all stages of the process, from the initial expression of intent through submission of the application, interview preparation, illogical support in gathering and submitting evidence. I would like to say we provided several reports to the authorities in Montenegro from the Human Rights Watch, and based on detailed preparation we did with Mr. Almet and Mr. Dinara, we had a lot of evidence who were translated and delivered to the authorities in Montenegro. We submitted a document from a special rapporteur of the UN, signed by him, his opinion about the human rights position in Kazakhstan, about the position of these two people. As Mr. Dinara stated, that human rights position in Kazakhstan is trying to be represented not terroristically. Mr. Smailova and Mohajenov were investigated, tries, provided interview, tries. Based on our experience, we do not have the answer why we still do not have the response from the Directorate for Asylum, despite a lot of the documentation that have been provided, and I hope the Directorate will open a more peaceful life to Ms. Smailova and Mr. Ahmetov. As you could hear, Mr. Smailova is an activist of human rights, internationally recognized, and she's being, to say, hunted by the Kazakhstani authorities. As a human rights activist, he had a lot of results, but also a lot of people are after it. Due to the position of these two people, the state has to be careful when treating them and their cases. I hope today's conference will be an alarm for the state authorities, and to say that there is no place for misinterpretation or misinterpretation of the law and legal standards, because these people fled away from their countries due to several threats. Having the information that the police representatives, based on the information received by the Kazakhstani government, and they published the name of Ms. Smailova. They breach a lot of conventions and international standards, and we have the obligation to fulfill and to follow those conventions. That the law on temporary protection, on law on international and the temporary protection has been breached. Their safety in Montenegro has been breached because the address and places of these two people, where do they reside, has been shared with the Kazakhstani government. The Kazakhstani government is after these two people due to their fight for the human rights. It is important to trace such conduct by the authorities damage the Montenegro international reputation, a country that holds a candidate status for the EU membership, and which has throughout its long history always been a haven for the prosecutor people. So such behavior is unacceptable. We at Civic Alliance stand with Mr. Smailova and her husband, as well as with all those whose basic human rights are threatened. We will continue to devote our work and our knowledge and resources to help them. As a message, I want to say that protecting the human rights of asylum seekers is not only a matter of legal obligation and statutory norms that we have sustained and that we are bound, but it's also a matter of shared humanity. Those who flee war, violence, and persecution carry with them hope of dignified life and safety, and it is our human responsibility to provide these conditions for them, to protect them. I thank Mr. Vukcevic for his presentation. Attorney Dalibor Tomovic will tell us something more about the recent detention of Mr. Smailova following the extradition request by the Kazakhstani authorities, as well as what can be expected from the procedure. Mr. Tomovic, the floor is yours. We had the opportunity to hear reasons, procedures that has been initiated in order to receive international protection for Ms. Smailova and her husband, along with the request for asylum. There is also legal extraditionary procedure against Ms. Smailova. For those who knows the international regulations, which oblige Montenegro also, it is interesting to state that in this case, which may seem a special case, is the fact that after Ms. Smailova filed a request for asylum, in May, the extradition request has been received by the Kazakhstani authorities with an explanation that the period June-November 2023. So it's a period when Ms. Smailova is not in Kazakhstan, and she's been alleged for huge stealing of the funds. What we hear about from Mr. Vukcevic and from Mr. Smailova and her husband, we see that it's a finished process, false process, which is designed because of her work on the human rights protection in Kazakhstan. In this extradition request, there are two things that have been mentioned. First of all, is that to conduct this extraditionary process, and the second is for her to be arrested, to be detained. She has been arrested in 14 April this year when she was brought to the investigation court in the High Court of Montenegro. Before the court, she explained the reasons of her being accused. In chronological matter, she explained what happened in Kazakhstan, what we heard today also. And at the initial stage, we have understanding, normally respecting the laws, that not to have the detention. There were two measures given by the court, retrieving the passport and her obligations to report to the police authorities. I believe both measures are overburdened, are superfluous because taking her passport is not necessary because she's in the process of receiving asylum, and her movement from Montenegro means losing of the status of misuse of the international protection request. And the second measure that has to deal with reporting to the police authorities on the regularly basis also is superfluous because she each month needs to come to Podgorica to receive a certification where she personally has to come and just to ban in to both of measures are not necessarily, but we will see what the committee of the High Court will say. I believe and I expect that we will have a continuation of the extradition procedure, but also I am expecting to receive positive decision from the Ministry of Internal Affairs and in order for Mr. Smailova to receive international protection. Extradition procedure, in order just to explain, is being conducted in parallel with the international protection procedure. Even if Mr. Smailova receives the asylum, the extradition procedure must to be conducted and finalized in front of the organs. Normally, any kind of a decision made by court related to the extradition process will not impact if Mr. Smailova receives asylum status. Mr. Itomovic, thank you very much. Finally, we will hear from attorney Anara Kusainova, who represented Mr. Almat and Ms. Smailova in several court proceedings in Kazakhstan. We cannot hear. We cannot hear. The translation cannot hear. So, as a consequence, that the police interrogated all the donators. One organs of the police received only eight appeals. One of them retrieved the understanding. What is defined as a damage is less than 44 euros, and according to law of Kazakhstan, this is no criminal case, so is voluntary donations. These funds are used for our office, donations are used for our office, for attorneys and all others who provide support. Its headquarters, her headquarters was not so familiar for the court legal authorities. That's what he was Dina was not informed about the criminal proceedings against her. She was informed through the media. So Her prosecution, her repression is due to her fight against human rights, protection of women and children who are victims of the torture, of the violence, but who did not receive the required protection by the courts or the police of Kazakhstan. And after establishment of the foundation, Don't Be Silent, so the representative of the police were at the focus of the criticism, and this brought to the engagement of the state apparatus, and several police officers were accused and alleged for misuse of their power. So this was the video from Mr. Husseinova. Now I open the place for question, if you have, but please present yourself before. I will not raise question. I represent a Center for Women Rights, an organization that deals with similar topics that the Foundation Don't Be Silent deal with. Dina Smailova is our co-fighter who internationally recognized as a human activist who fights against violence toward women and girls. It's clearly that she's politically persecuted because of her work. It is not unusual even in Montenegro, but fortunately Montenegro as a signatory of a lot of conventions, and as the EU candidate, we have much more protection than 20 years ago when we were in the same situation of Ms. Smailova, and therefore I request, I call the government of Montenegro and the Ministry of Interior to ensure safety, international protection for Dina Smailova and her husband, and to protect their rights. The United Nations, through joint letters from several of its mechanisms, the rapporteur on situation of human rights defenders, special rapporteur on the right of freedom of peaceful assembly and association, special rapporteur on violence against the women and girls, one Montenegro on 20 August 2024 about seriousness of her case and the potential violation of international law if she is extradited. They note that there is well-founded suspicion that the extradition request is politically motivated and the Smailova would face unfair child repression and possible abuse in the Kazakhstan because of her activism. I want today to state that Montenegro should not extradite. We as organization deal and try to provide the support to Ms. Smailova, and I call the government of Montenegro and the Ministry of the Interior to ensure safety, international protection for Dina Smailova, and to provide positive answer as soon as possible to her request for asylum. I believe that everybody here share your opinion. Any additional questions that you might have? If there is no more questions, this press conference is finished, and I want to thank speakers and all of you who decided to join us for the conference. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.